Chapter 22 spoilers are here. The Goat of King has returned. This sounds exaggerated, but I'm really excited to see this. Jura came to the battlefield not to where Boruto executed Matsuri, but to where Sarada defeated Ryu. Before I break down and say how many wild assumptions there are about this, let's first take a look at the page for Chapter 22's leak. You see guys Tsumeaka, who is still standing while Ryu has been crushed into small particles. Jura came through the claw marks on Tsumeaka's body. And it's clear that if Jura came to Ryu's place, it wasn't to the place where Boruto executed Matsuri, because we can see the expression of Mitsuki, who was very shocked to see Jura's arrival. And that's it for the leaks that we can see for this part 1, guys, so we're back to, at least break down a little bit of what's going to happen next. But disclaimer, as always, everything I say is based on references from the past few chapters, as a basis for this not being complete bullshit. First of all, how about we guess who's going to die next? We're assuming that Yodo is really dead, but after Jura comes to the battlefield, who do you think is going to die next? We know there's only Mitsuki left in Sarada's team, who's still in a not-so-dead state, right? Jura killed Mitsuki, or he will finish off everyone, including Sarada and Araya, but I have assumptions into two things. First, we know that the nature of a Jura is not purely evil. I mean, there are some things that make Jura not completely like a typical villain who acts brutally and such when his partner is killed by the enemy. Perhaps it's a fact that Sarada really did defeat Jura's subordinates, but does that really mean Jura is out for revenge? If you can argue, it seems like Jura wouldn't do that if they didn't put up a fight, especially since Jura is a villain who prioritizes objectives over things he shouldn't do. I know this sounds like nonsense because Jura will probably be able to kill them in an instant, and it takes a lot of effort, right? But then again, guys, Jura is not like other villains. He still has a human side, because in my opinion, Jura should have prioritized taking the Togedama back to the Shinju dimension as soon as possible to revive them, rather than doing something that wastes time. Because if you look at the scene where Boruto destroys the Hidari in Chapter 12, Jura prioritized returning to the Shinju dimension rather than killing Boruto. Yeah, I know you might also attribute this to some things like Mamushi or even divine intervention, as if Boruto wasn't supposed to die at that time. But the fact of the matter is, the Togedama has a lifespan, or in other words, a time where if left too long, the Togedama will become rotten. And maybe these are the two worst things. First, if the Togedama is allowed to rot, then most likely Jura cannot revive Ryu or Matsuri. Or the worst possibility, the human soul or body sealed in the tree will forever be there and not come back to life. And of course, Masashi will not allow that. But if the Togedama is rotten if left unattended, what makes the most sense to you guys? Divine tree humans cannot be revived, or even humans who are paralyzed will forever be unable to return to normal life? What do you think? But anyway, actually looking at the leaks that show Jura coming to Sarada's place compared to Boruto 2, I have another assumption. But it's impossible to be sure if Jura came to Sarada's place for a reason, right? Especially in the last chapter, it also said that he finally saw Boruto coming to the battlefield. Then why in Chapter 22 did he actually come to Sarada's place? And actually also, we can't guess how far between Matsuri and Ryu. But is it actually possible that Jura starts to see a potential complication? Or in other words, Sarada is a person who has a probability, like Boruto, of being a special threat to the Divine Tree human? Then, will Jura treat Sarada like he treats Boruto? Then, if in fact the plot goes like that, Sarada is also likely to be a target for Jura to kill. And once again, the reason Jura is obsessive about killing Boruto, which should be because Boruto is meant to be sacrificed and devoured by the Jubi, but instead he wants to kill him. The biggest reason? It's because Boruto has the potential to be very threatening to the Divine Tree human, especially with his detailed knowledge of what the Togedama is, and vice versa with Sarada. If indeed Jura considers that Sarada's new ability poses a great threat to the Divine Tree human, then it seems I need to revise my assumptions from earlier. Even though Jura is a villain who isn't purely evil, if he sees a powerful potential that threatens the other Divine Tree humans, then I slightly suspect that Jura choosing to come to Sarada's location first might mean he's planning to eliminate her before he really fights Boruto, or even Borushiki for that matter. But for sure, saying Jura killed Sarada is ridiculous, especially since Sarada won't die so easily. Even if that's the case, there will likely be a scenario where Sarada is saved, and some kind of intervention happens that prevents Jura from killing her, or doing anything worse. And I'm sure of it. In conclusion, I admit that in a few videos before, I did suspect there would be a delay or a scene transition from the intense fighting in the previous chapter to a more relaxed one, like seeing what Code's next plan is, or something like that. But after seeing Jura come to the battlefield, I'll stick to my stance. Jura prioritizes retrieving the Togedama, either Ryu's or even Matsuri's, because again, the Togedama has a possible expiration window, a time limit before it rots. If left unchecked, that would be a huge loss for Jura himself. And of course, I'm saying this based on the reference back in chapter 12. Jura could have easily executed Boruto by firing one more Biju bomb at him, but why skip such an easy kill and choose instead to return to base? Well, it's all clear now. The Togedama's priorities are everything. But I really want to hear your thoughts, guys. Do you think it's kind of a ridiculous scene if Jura shows up on the battlefield just to retrieve the Togedama Ryu and Matsuri, then simply returns to base without doing anything else? And honestly, I'm a bit suspicious and curious about something. If you remember the last scene in chapter 13 when Hidari was revived, why was it Jura who placed the Togedama on top of the black cube? I mean, he's the leader, right? Why not Mamushi or even Matsuri? Why Jura, specifically? I know it might seem silly or minor, but was it just a coincidence? Or was there a deeper reason behind it? Can we consider that possibility, guys? And once again, if Jura's arrival was only to take back Togedama Ryu and Matsuri, and then just leave without fighting or confronting Boruto, doesn't that seem a bit odd or anticlimactic? What do you think, guys? Anyway, that's all for now. Just a few of my assumptions and predictions for chapter 22. I'd love to hear your own theories and scenarios too, so drop them in the comments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm Nim, and I'll see you in the next spoiler drop. Bye-bye, Dadabayo.